Hello everyone, Professor Thompson here. This is video number 2 of 2 on May 30th, 2018. So again, this is video number 2 on May 30th of 2018. If you have not watched the first video with updates, reminders, kind of some useful information from today, I would suggest going back and looking at that other video first. This video is going to be specifically about the informative speech. In unit number 1, which is due on June 11th for all of my internet sections, you have an informative speech due. One of the reasons why I have you complete so many chapters in unit number 1, and it's kind of a lengthy unit with a lot of chapters to read, a lot of modules to complete, quizzes, is because those chapters, 9, 10, 11, 12, they specifically talk about informative public speaking. They talk about the process, they talk about outlines, they talk about formats. And so for me, why would I have you do a speech if I'm not giving you information on how to do that kind of public speaking correctly? So what I'm really looking for and what I'm really trying to get you to do is to engage in that material, chapter 9, 10, 11, and 12, and then put that information from the textbook into practice. So make sure that you aren't just reading those chapters and churning through those quizzes as just a way of checking a checkbox or a checklist. I'm going to be looking to see if you're applying that material. Use it. I'll be looking. So, specifically one of the things that I would hint right here at the very beginning is make sure you really pay attention to chapter number 10. Chapter 10 talks about formats. It's going to talk about using attention-getting strategies to start your speech. It's going to be talking about previewing your main points well. It has a great little section, table 10.2, where it talks about transitions. And a lot of times we think that using words like next and second, third, furthermore, we think that those transitional words are actually transitions. And those are just signposts. They're not actually transitions. So I'm going to be looking in your speech that you're using these complete sentences, developed bridges of thought as transitions between your body points. So again, chapter 10 is going to cover conclusions and kind of key functions of conclusions and what we should be including as we summarize. So not only do you need to really, for this informative speech, look at chapters 9, 10, 11, and 12 and apply it, but then you also need to look at the requirement sheet for the presentation. The requirement sheet is in unit number 1, and it will be probably, 2, 3, 4 pages long, but it's going to highlight all of the required things that you need to be thinking about for the speech. Okay. I think I really should start out by reminding you again that in this fully online class, you have to record your presentations, you have to gather your audience, you have to make sure that you are not editing your video. And the state of Illinois, not me, not College of DuPage, has these very specific requirements that need to be followed. And so make sure you look over your syllabus. Make sure that you're adhering to those state policies. So I don't want those things to trip you up. Again, one of the hardest things in this class is getting 8 people together. You have to get your own audience together and have them there to witness you giving your speech. And it's challenging, but I know that you can do it. Family, friends, co-workers, maybe some fellow students in class. Do what you got to do to get people together. Don't let that be a barrier for you to be successful in this class. I see way too many students who can get an A or a B in this class and they give up. And so they, lack the perseverance, they lack the grit to really, put in a little effort to gather some people. Okay. And then typically, you can record it from your phone or something like that. It's very easy to have or create an unedited recording. And then I definitely want to remind you that in the syllabus, and it's also in the schedule, but in the syllabus, I have the recording kind of requirements or checklist, however you want to put it, of things you need to think about when you're recording your speech. And honestly, if you were in my shoes, most of them are just common sense. And so they're things that you just need to do to make sure that you're completing the requirements for the course. And again, I'm on your side here. I understand that they are not the easiest things in the world, but it's the price you pay for the flexibility that you gain in an online class, especially a fully online class like this. I also want to stress that you need to record your speech in advance. Really, don't wait until the last minute. If you're waiting till June 11th at 5 p.m. to get people together to try and record your speech, and that recording is due at 11:30 p.m., and you have technical difficulties of some sort, I'm sorry, I'm not going to feel sorry for you. If you're putting things off and procrastinating, you need to allow yourself enough time that if you have technical problems, you can troubleshoot. And I think that that's just being a responsible student. I think that that's something that I'm entrusting to you as a competent and worthy student in my class, that you're not going to be trying to contact me at 10 o'clock at night the night something's due. Because quite frankly, at 10 o'clock at night, I might be in bed, and I'm not going to be responding to your email that is a plea for help because your speech is due in an hour. So please keep that in mind, that you should be working ahead. Record your speech probably on June 8th, June 9th, maybe at the latest June 10th, to give yourself 24 hours that if you have to troubleshoot, you do it. And in the syllabus, I put, I'm not the biggest tech expert in the world. I'm not the IT desk. So, you might have to contact COD, the student helpline or something like that. But you need to make sure you're uploading your videos. And I think the other frustrating thing for me is that I've had 5,000 students pass through my online classes. And I've had 5,000 students who maybe they have minor technical issues, but they troubleshoot and they do it. And so, if I've seen it successfully done, I know you can do it too. Okay, so a couple things about the informative speech. Let's kind of get down to some business. Keep it simple. Please keep it simple. This is a 5 to 7 minute presentation. This is not a 10-minute presentation. This is not a 20-minute presentation. 5 to 7 minutes. If you're speaking less than 5 minutes, you do not have enough information. Okay? So make sure you're building a speech. I think one of the things that people don't do is they don't practice their speech before you record your speech. If you were in my face-to-face class, you would practice your speech several times before you actually walked into my class and presented. Why wouldn't you practice your speech several times before you actually present it to your audience when you're recording it in an online class? So make sure that you're practicing and you're recording your speech and that you're delivering it well. I told you in the last video not to be reading, to us. You need to make an effort to be charismatic and engaging as a speaker. It just so happens that we are recording this and you're submitting it electronically. So you can almost think of it as a TED Talk, right? If I was to go to TED.com and watch a TED Talk, those speakers aren't reading to their audience in that amphitheater. They're engaging, they're charismatic, they're laughing, they're smiling, they're gesturing. You should be doing the same thing. It just happens that you're recording. So keep it simple. Don't pick overly complex topics. There's really no need to do that. I would suggest, what are some simple topics, right? I wrote a couple down. 3 major battles of World War I. I'm listening to a podcast right now about World War I. So 3 major battles of World War I. The 4 phases of a golf swing. 3 types of marijuana: indica, sativa, hybrid. 4 characteristics that led John Elway to becoming a Hall of Famer. I mean, these are really simple, easy to build topics. Again, you too can choose something that's not a matter of life and death, but very simple, something for you that you're interested in, that you have interest in, that you think the people that you're going to speak to would have some interest in. Keep it simple. Okay. The other thing I want to point out is I have put into Blackboard a couple resources for you. Over on that left-hand side of Blackboard, there's a tab that says Videos. That Video tab actually has example videos of the various speeches in this course. So you can look at other students from other semesters. They've signed permissions and waivers for me to use their video. But you can watch some video of some other speeches. Also, in the outline submission tab, where you're going to need to load your outline, I have an example outline of just a speech. You're going to notice that that outline is pretty simple, not complex. I'm not expecting a word-for-word version of your speech. And in fact, I don't want a word-for-word version of your speech. I want you, again, to think about how can I create a short set of guided notations to help me through a speech. I'm kind of thinking right now, as I think about chapters 9, 10, 11, and 12, chronological speeches, things about how something goes in order are really good informative speeches for this first one. And again, that would go back to maybe 4 major battles of World War I. They could be kind of the beginning through the end. You could talk about a process of some sort, of how something is made or how something is completed, whether it be the recycling process or the process of making a football or something. You can choose a topical presentation where you're covering some major constructs or areas. So you might talk about the history of Legos, how Legos have impacted science, and how Legos have impacted students with disabilities. Or you could talk about, the idea of defense in the sport of, say, football, and you might talk about, the 3-4, the 4-3, and the nickel defenses. Only you football fans might get that reference. But the point being, it's fairly simple, but it would be topical in nature, kind of a congregation of ideas under one core topic. So those are some things to think about as you do this speech. You also have to do some source citations for this first speech. You've got 2 source citations required. I've included in Blackboard in multiple locations a handout that says oral source citations or tips for oral source citations. Make sure you look at that. This is where you're going to say something to the effect of, according to a Washington Post article from January 4th of 2016, or you might say, a DenverBroncos.com post from Adam Jones on May 3rd, 2018 indicated that John Elway, blah, 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 right? So you will have some small amounts of research to do, but I think no matter what your informative topic is, from marijuana to World War I to football, you may be linked to your topic. You might feel your own personal expert in the topic, but just because you have some vestment and maybe some initial speaker credibility doesn't mean that I necessarily am going to wholeheartedly give you all aspects or components of ethos. And so by using research to corroborate and back up what you say, that builds your credibility even more. And so it's supporting your core ideas with other people's publication, other people's words. So I will be looking for a very small amount of that in your speech. I am 100% open to your questions on the first presentation. Again, please don't wait until the last minute. Make sure that you're working ahead. I'm looking for clear, concise, 5 to 7 minute informative speeches. I'm looking forward to it. Good luck.